I know I'm dangerous, and I know I can be violent, and I know I can destroy my whole life at any given second. And I've been like a pleasure seeker my whole life, been an addict. And I'm a fan of violence. I love watching violent fights, violent encounters, anything that can pleasure me, anything that can make me feel better. I want more. I feel like there's a bomb inside sometimes waiting to go off.
How do you suppress that demon? How do you actually keep it at bay?
Is it done? Come here. Is it done? Me and you talk. Yes or no? Is it done?
I remember just yucking some kid, and I remember thinking, this boxing's going to come in really handy on the street, and it did. I've been stabbed 3 times, I've been shot in the back, I've been kicked from pillar to post, I've been hit with all kinds, I've been kicked and battered all my life. I can take all that, mate, I'm built for that.
Your relationship with Tommy Robinson, how did that come about?
There's nothing he can't answer. He's educated himself that much to a degree where he can go on and destroy Piers Morgan. But if it ever goes off, that old situation, where it ever goes off and that's the man you want beside you, mate. Trust us. Over anyone and everyone, I'll pick him.
Did you ever feel like you shouldn't have been doing that? Or is that what you truly wanted?
Praise God that I got to see him in his dying hour.
So today we are joined by Danny Christie. First and foremost, mate, I want to say thank you so much for coming on, bro.
No bother, mate. It's a pleasure.
Honestly, I know I've been trying to get you on here for fucking ages, mate.
Yeah.
And you finally, so it's unbelievable to see you, mate. And how are you doing anyway?
Mate, I'm all right. I'm somewhere in the middle at the minute. I've been a lot worse and I've been a lot better. Just me head, really. I need to get another project going. I've got a few things in my mind, and once I get the ball rolling with them, I'll be okay. I'm just sort of in limbo at the minute, if you like.
I want to there's going to be a lot of people who know your story. Your following's grown very quickly, and obviously the things you've done in the fighting world is unbelievable, definitely inspiring. I'm a lad from the northeast, and to see you doing what you're doing definitely makes me want to kick on doing stuff like this.
Thank you.
So how did your journey actually begin?
Well, I come out my mother.
You don't say it.
But you on about the BKFC?
No, like when you were growing up and that, because obviously to get to the BKFC, it doesn't just take an average Joe. There's got to be someone with a bit of something different about them.
Yeah, well, my story's hardly, seldom told. I didn't have the best upbringing. I was born from addicts. My mum and dad were both addicts. My dad died when I was 3. And there was always a big void there. I remember, my mum not having any really authority over us, doing what I want, when I want, always searching for some kind of authority, maybe some kind of father figure, if you like. And never really had a good, clean run, you know what I mean? I was always in trouble. There was always something. I was a thief, a proper thief, you know what I mean? I took anything and everything off anyone. And half the time I just used to give the stuff away. Unless it was food, I used to eat it, because there wasn't a lot of food kicking about, you know what I mean? But I just done it for the buzz, you know what I mean? I never done it to line my pockets or out like that. I just, for whatever reason, had a buzz off stealing things. Mm-hmm. And it took till I was in my early 30s, mid-30s or something to calm that down, you know what I mean? Every now and then I found myself in a shop. And once or twice I've found myself in a shop and I've got a couple of £1,000 in my pocket and I've stole a cream egg. And I do stuff like, I've done stuff like that often all my life. Stole a lot bigger things than that, but just for whatever reason, couldn't help myself.
I think it was just purely the buzz.
Yeah, well, I mean, how much of a buzz is it? You know what I mean? For whatever reason, probably just the getting away with it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, I couldn't keep me honest to myself.
Well, you're not getting away with that lens you've just tried to nick, mate. So, when were you first introduced to fighting?
When I was 11, I first walked into a boxing club. I had a few bits of scrapes and that on the street and on the parks and that. And it was a pretty rough bit where we lived. There was always plenty of fighting, You kind of found out your place fairly sharpish on the street. There's plenty of rough kids. And walked into the gym when I was 11. There was a few older lads doing the boxing, trying to get us down for a little while. In the end, I walked in of my own accord. Couldn't really find nobody kicking about the streets. I knew where they would be. I went down and I mucked in and I loved it.
Where did you fare? Were you one of the tough lads straight away, or was it just something you liked doing?
No, not at all. I started when I was boxing when I was 11, so I had a bit of a tough time at school because I was a thief, you know what I mean? I got rumbled plenty of times. I would always steal off the roughest kids, you know what I mean? I'd wait till they were doing PE or whatever, and I would go and dip the pockets and that, taking the fags and the money and that. Couldn't help it. There's no why I done it.
Were you not bothered about the repercussions at the time?
For whatever reason, no, and half the time I knew I would get caught, because you know what it's like at school. You tell somebody before you know it, the whole school knows. Next thing you know, you're getting yucked. And it just happened a lot. I got a few yuckings at school, and I deserved them all, but I never really had the stones to fight in the street or whatever, even though I'd done a bit of boxing right through school. On my first bout when I was 12, back end of 11, a couple of days before my 12th birthday, actually. And I just never found the balls within myself to fight back or out like that at school. Now I got one or two yuckings off some rough kids, and I think I first found my arse when I was about 16, 17. I'd left school, and I remember just yucking some kid, and I remember thinking, this boxing's going to come in really handy on the street, and it did.
You alright, people? Hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Here's a random one for you. Most of you who are actually watching this episode don't actually subscribe to it, so just do us a favour, will you? Can you click the like button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss another episode, hit subscribe, all that good stuff, because we go up and down the country to try and bring you the best show possible. We're not messing around here, so please just show some love, will you? Who instilled you to get into that? Because obviously your dad not being around, and again, sorry to hear that, mate, but was it something that, again, I know you kind of stumbled into that gym, do you think it's something you needed to do and all?
Yeah. For whatever reason, I've been searching my whole life for something or someone, and I might never find it. You know what I mean? It's like the journey, the quest. That is the destination for me. It took me a long time to realise, but the searching for something, and being on the journey, that is the destination. It took me a long time to realise that. And this feeling of a void, maybe emptiness, whatever it is. I've always been looking for something, and I've been like a pleasure seeker my whole life. Been an addict. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's social situations, whether it's violence, whether it's fighting, whether it's women, whether it's drugs, anything that can pleasure me, anything that can make me feel better. I want more. And that's the way it was for a long time. It's only recently I've started took myself out of the middle of everything and realised, the world just doesn't stop and start at my convenience. And when I've started putting others first, life's improved tenfold.
Because a lot of people know you now, and I suppose they have done for years, obviously building up a reputation and stuff, in and outside the ring. When did you realise, Danny, that you had a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a scrapper?
I'm not sure, mate. Probably, around the time I got married or something, in my early 20s, and just off me nut all the time, always out with the lads. You know what it's like, groups of lads going out. No one's happy unless you've got into a ruck, you don't really want to come home unless you've knocked someone out. And it was just how it was for years, and I always won a lot more than I lost, and just stupid stuff, not even fighting for any particular reason. I was one of them that I could walk into a pub anywhere and cause trouble. I would, it would never be my fault. It would always be someone else. But I would noise people up. I was an expert at it, staring at them, just looking away, and just waiting for them to come over. Never going over, but just baiting them until they come over. And I'm like, look, he wanted it. He started on me. I was an expert at that.
Why did you never go over yourself?
Because I didn't want to go over. I always looked, for whatever reason, I don't know. I always wanted to be the person that trouble was coming to me. It was all bullshit. I could cause trouble in an empty house, and used to love doing it.
It's mad that, because there's all, what's mad, mate? Obviously, growing up in Sunderland and going out down the town and all that over the years, there's always someone like that who you meet, who you come across. Yeah. When you were like that, did you ever feel like you shouldn't have been doing that, or is that what you truly wanted? Do you know? Or do you think you're still trying to fill that void?
Oh, see, I don't know. It's unexplainable behaviour really for a lot of the stuff. Probably just thrill seeking again. I'm a fan of violence. And that's how it is. I don't take part in nowhere near as much of the stuff that I used to do. But I don't just mean about me being in the middle of it. Like, I love watching violence. I'm a fan of violence. I love watching violent fights, violent encounters. People getting stuff wrapped around their heads and that and all that stuff. For whatever reason, I buzzed off it for years. And there's still a bit inside us that likes it. Was
there many times when you sort of did that and it went the wrong way for you?
A few times I've been scared, gone a bit far. I was on about with Foxy the other day. There was once one of my mum's boyfriend, and I've yucked a few of my mum's boyfriends over the years. And this one time I felt I went a bit far. He was bleeding from the ears and that, and I thought I've gone a bit far there. And it was scary. And I was, you know, by the grace of God, he come round and it was all right.
Did you manage to mend that relationship?
No, he fucked off back down the road, and that was the plan, you know.
Oh, fucking hell, I suppose you would do, wouldn't you? Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
well,
It's like, did that, you know, events like that, do you feel like then it's like, right, maybe it's time to, you know, rein it in a little bit? Because if you're a fan of the violence and you love all that type of stuff, that stuff's going to give you a rush. You can go one or two ways, can't you? You can either be egged on by that type of stuff and want to do more of it, or go the other way.
Man, it was just a roller coaster of emotions, you know. My entire life's been like that. Just, you know, massive highs, massive lows, proper buzzes, you know, and loads of regrets, and it's just how it's been, mate. It's been mad, absolutely mad.
Because I know that certainly, again, I'm from Sunderland, and your name is always mentioned, especially with the podcast stuff. Get Danny Christie on, get Danny. Your name is constant. Even me mates texting us, get him on. I know you can do it. So I'll get him on one day. Mm-hmm. And I knew that, like, because of that kind of sort of fearsome reputation and that reputation that carries across the streets and people saying your name and stuff, is that something that kind of made you proud? Or again, was it not about a reputation?
Once upon a time, mate, probably, yeah. You know, massive ego, worried about your reputation, overly concerned about what people think, not wanting to be anybody's mug or anybody's divvy, you know. And last couple of years, that stuff's just completely slipped out of my mind. I couldn't care less what a man thinks of me now. You know, I don't care less at all. If someone comes up to me and calls me a fairy, I won't do anything. I'm just not bothered. You know what I mean? I'm just not bothered at all. Someone's got to crack me really now to get me going.
Because that's the thing with you, I suppose, that kind of shows you kind of made peace with yourself. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you're 39 now. It's obviously took years to get to that point. Mm-hmm. But you can imagine there'd been one day when someone called you a fairy and it wouldn't have ended well. Yeah,
definitely not. You know, it is what it is. I suppose it's just whatever. Call it maturity. You know, the time came for me to sort my shit out. You know, like I say, forever searching for something, and I found it. You know, and I got it in abundance. You know, and it'll never leave me. And it's made me such a better person. You know.
Are you clean from addiction now?
Yes, I smoked a little bit of weed at the weekend. You know, so every now and then I will have a little smoke. I had a drink in Marbella with my lass. Mm-hmm. You know, I never went too far. But I've learned that much about myself, and I've got that much of a handle on my addiction. You know, I know when I'm in the red, I know when I'm in the danger zone, and I know what to do, what not to do. I know where to be, where not to be, where to put myself, and where to keep myself from. You know, so I've got a good understanding of myself, and I'm in no danger whatsoever of destroying my entire life, even though I'm capable of doing that at any given second. You know, I'm capable of destroying my entire life at any given moment, you know, because all that stuff that I'm talking about, like, don't want to hurt people no more, you know, and all that stuff, and I really don't, but don't for a minute think it's not all in there, mate. There's still plenty of badness in me. It's just deep down, mate. It's not on the surface no more.
Because the reason I set up this podcast, mate, you know, over a year ago now, I genuinely want to put something into the world where someone can take something away from it, a bit of value, a bit of inspiration, whatever it may be. And I certainly, when I see your content, I think I told you this before, but when I see your stuff, like, I'm inspired by it, because I know that
thank you, mate.
If there's anyone who can go through some shit in life and get out the other side, you've literally been a walking, talking fucking demonstration of that. You've done it all, and you've also did it on the highest fucking stage of the world as well. So to do something like that, that just goes to show what someone, regardless of what they're doing, can be actually capable of.
Yeah, you know, I think if anything, you know, if my message is anything, I think it's that. You know, I think if I can do it, anyone can do it. You know, and I really mean that, because there's been times in my life when I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. You know, I had riddled with shame and guilt for the stuff I've done, the people I've hurt. And it's not a nice place, you know, when you can't sit with yourself, you know what I mean? Can't sit and be with myself. I had a massive discomfort with myself. I didn't like myself, didn't like the person I'd become. All the stuff I'd done, it was, it mounted up, you know, it got to us sometimes. And you mask it with drugs and everything else.
For the people who might have some kind of issue, whether it's mental health, whether it's some addiction problem, what are the warning signs, Danny? What's something to look out for where you're like, you know what, this could lead into a bad path?
Mate, you see, everybody's different. You know, everybody's different. And to answer that question, mate, I don't know. You know, what's good for you isn't good for someone else. What works for you might not work for somebody else. And this is the thing, you know, that's the complexity of individuals. Nobody's the same. You know, and how irritating is it now, you know, that everybody's feelings are involved. You know, it's not a case of just getting something done because it needs done. Now it's a case of, oh, what if you upset this person? And it's just changed everything. You know, everybody's feelings are involved nowadays, you know, so you can't hardly speak your mind, you know, without somebody being upset. So, I mean, get help. That's the only thing I can say. Get help, because it's too difficult on your own. You know, you can't just do these things on your own. You need to go to people with experience. If I could have £1 for every message that I've been sent by somebody at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, off the can, oh, I'm sick of this and that, you know, I need help and that, mate, I don't care. You know what I mean? That's the bottom line, mate. I don't care. I've got 5 kids. I've got 5 sets of problems. I've got all kinds of worries and that stuff of my own. You know, I'm not a counsellor. You know, I'm under no obligation to return a message to anybody. You know, and I do get it. People are reaching out, but like the come down's another one as well. You might get it 5, 6, 7 or whatever o'clock in the morning. People, you know, so depressed and that, mate, just leave me alone. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then the best one is they all start getting in touch with me lass. Oh, I sent Danny a message 2 or 3 days ago, you know, he hasn't got back to us. Exactly, mate, and I won't be. You know, like I say, I've got my own problems, I've got my own chew. And if these people that are looking around for help, you know, if they want to have a little look inside my head, they would sharp realise I'm not really the person you want to be coming to, you know.
Because there's a good quote, mate, and it's about, well, again, it's not a quote. I say this all the time, you know, there's a good quote. It's not a fucking quote, mate.
Just a saying.
But there's something I heard where they say, be careful who you look up to, because you wouldn't want to, you've got to remember, if you were to trade your life with Danny Christie, you've got to it's not about the glory. It's not about that stage. It's about all the bullshit you've got to face when you get back in the house and you've got them 5 sets of problems and all the stuff that's playing on your head, all the people you probably let down over the years, all the things you've done great and bad.
Yeah.
Would you really want all of that?
I wouldn't wish my life on anybody, mate, you know, and obviously I understand there's millions of people out there that would kill to be me and kill to be you, you know, but nah, I wouldn't wish my headspace on a lot of people, mate. On the surface, I always seem pretty okay, and the truth is I am, you know, but certain things keep me up at night, and I've done a lot of bad things, mate, you know, they don't just go away, and it's not like I live in regret, but these things can come back on you. Certain things remind you of what you've done, you know, and you can't just cancel it out. You know, you've got to go through it, and then maybe it takes a couple of hours, it maybe takes a couple of days till you process it, and you know, you get back to how you should be.
When did you start thinking about the BKFC?
I never, you know, I had a straightener in a gym with someone that I had some chew with, and the BKFC contacted me. You know, they offered me a 3-fight contract, and it was through a representative of the BKFC who was my former manager, Mozzie. You know, I got a lot of time for him. We just had a few disagreements and more business than anything else. You know, it was never personal with him. You know, we always got on. He contacted me. I done a 3-fight contract for the BKFC, and I thought someone was winding us up. You know, I thought it was one of my pals talking shite, and I'm like, who are you? And like, who is this? So a couple of days later, he landed at my door and fetched the contract, and we went out for a Nando's, and I signed, and I thought, yeah, sound. He said, there's a big show. He says, they're coming to these shows, you know, they're coming to Wembley for the first show, and they're Mike Perry, Venom Page undercard. Do you want to fight on that? Fighting this Terry Brazier, who'd won 2 world titles in that MMA. It was like a 2-weight world champion at Bama. So I knew he was rough enough. And I took the fight and I loved it, you know, and I never looked back. And I said before, me and my last laugh about it, that was going to be my only fight. You know, I just thought, you know something, I'm 37, I'm shot to bits, I'm injured, I'm battered. And I thought, I'll go on there, I'll have 1 fight against this kid who I know can fight. And I'll call it a day. I can tell the grandkids I've had 1 fight for the BKFC. You know, that was the crack. That's why I done it. And then the second fight was the same. I'll just have 1 more. Blagged her, talked her into it. I'll just have 1 more. And that's been, it's been 1 more, it's been 1 more, it's been 1 more, and I'm 7 fights deep now, and I really am done. You know, I don't want to think about competing no more, mate. I've had about 90-something stitches, and I've loved it. You know, I've been smashed to bits, but you know, I want to put my focus into other things now, and I'll keep my hand in the game. You know, we had Gary Fox on here the other day. Absolutely love that man, mate. Love him. And me and him's got a mad story. And Aggie Faulkner, Paul Venis. There's a few people in there who I'll be supporting, and I'll be part of their team, and I'll be doing as much as I can, for them for as long as I can.
Because again, I'm quite good at retiring. I seen what you put out on YouTube, sort of announcing you want to retire from BKFC, and I totally get it. Your body's worn out and stuff. I believe you'll fight again. I believe you fight again because you're a fighter. You know what I mean? With the BKFC and all, you've probably got a bit more life in it than what you do in other disciplines and other combat sports. And because obviously you're such a profile now, I feel like you're at the point where, and I mean with the most respect to saying this, I think you're at the point where you could just get to another level if you just have a few more. Again, as a fight fan, I'm going to say that to you. Of course I am. But I think a lot of people around the world would agree. Yeah. But then I'm not the one against Dave Mundell or any of these lads in that ring. I'm not there.
Yeah.
So it's easy good to shout this from the cheap seats. I totally get that. But for you, do you truly think you're done?
I feel like I'm done. And it's not. It's timing, mate. It's. I'd feel like I could, punch a hole in a tank some days. I feel like I could fight on, and I feel like I could do well. I feel like I've got loads of fight left in us, mate. It's not like I've been, and my legs chopped off and that. I feel like I can still go. But again, like I said, I think that's a good time to walk away. I don't want to empty myself in this game. I don't want to have 2-3 more fights down the line and end up getting smashed to bits worldwide, for my kids to see and to know, to be sure at that point that I've got nothing left and I'm done. I don't want that day to come, mate. I'd rather keep something in there, whether it comes out again or not. I don't want to spend myself in this game, mate. I'm better than that, and it's been a bit mutual with the BKFC. I've made a pretty penny and I've enjoyed it. And they've given my profile a massive boost. But in the same breath, I've put on some of the best fights that they've seen in the UK. And I've had a couple of stitches shy of 100 stitches, in my face. So we've both benefited from that. I'm glad that I've been able to, help promote this company to the maximum, really, since they've landed on these shores. I've always got a lot of attention because of the fights I've got from the company. They've promoted me really well. They've paid me decent. And it's been one hell of a journey, you know what I mean?
How does it feel to be noticed by the likes of Conor McGregor?
Strange, mate. It's strange. It's this, it's like when I go somewhere, there's been times when I've been mobbed. We went to that BKFC at the last one at the Utilita. Mate, I couldn't sit down. It took me an hour to get from the entrance to my seat. And I don't mind that at all. I mean, who am I to say no to somebody for a picture? I wouldn't dare. Do you know what I mean? I'll always make time for people in them situations. You say yes, yeah, of course you can have a couple of pictures. And before you know it, there's like a queue. And I'm thinking, it's like, who am I? You know what I mean? Who am I? I've come from nothing. I'm absolutely nobody. My head's a shed. You know what I mean? All I've done is fight and got clean. For whatever reason, people, they take a lot from it. And I think it's just because I'm a normal, everyday, working class lad who is a fuck up, really. But I've done pretty well through getting clean and through fighting on the BKFC. So for whatever reason, people draw from that. People take something from that. And I know I've helped a lot of people, but like I say, I've got my own problems. My head's a shed, and I'm not a counsellor. I'm not trained or educated or qualified, for that matter, to start addressing other people's problems. I don't know what to say or do.
The thing is, Danny, and I agree with that, you're not a counsellor, you know what I mean? You've got time, you've got to make time for yourself and what's important to you, your family, protect your energy. I definitely believe that. But, the things you said there, you're just a lad off, working class family. You had a few fights, you've got clean. That is exactly why people gravitate towards you. That right there. Because you are more relatable than what you think to the average man, apart from you've achieved great things. And I think it doesn't take me to tell you this, but you should recognise that and understand that. That is why. Because when I look at you, again, I'm not from a fighting background, mate, but I'm from Sunderland, the normal estates. Mm-hmm. Very similar to where you're from.
Straight rough old place.
Do you know what I mean? And I know that when I see someone like yourself, even this, mate, this is our first podcast. I feel like I've spoken to you for years already.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a Northeast thing. I don't know what that is, but I think if I feel that and I'm in this room with you, I can only imagine what someone who consumes every bit of content you ever post, they feel like they fucking know you.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that a bit. I get that a lot. You know, and it reflected in the support that I took over to Marbella. You know, I was just overwhelmed by it, mate. You know, so many people making that trip to come and see me. Mind blown. I couldn't get over it when the figures come back, and I just couldn't believe it. You know, that I'd gathered that much momentum. You know what I mean? And I'd touched that many people, and people from far and wide, all over the UK, from the top of Scotland to way down the south coast, Bournemouth people, and people from all over, mate, coming to support me. It was mind blown. I couldn't believe it, and I couldn't make enough time for them. You know, I couldn't wait to. I mean, I got a proper yucking, but I couldn't wait. I was excited even after to get out there and to find as many people from the UK and just go and thank them. I knew so many faces and so many people coming up to us, and I couldn't thank them enough. You know what I mean? I'm so grateful for the support that I've had, and you know, and like I say, the people that I know have helped, the genuine, real people that I know have helped. It's it can be almost a bit much sometimes, overwhelming almost. You know, I'm just me. I'm me, you're you, he's him, she's her, they're them. You know, like, don't see what's so special about it.
I love that about you though, because you can see. I know you're modest. I know you're saying you just, but there is, like, I've met a lot of people. Even I had Rico Franco on the podcast.
Yeah, I love Rico.
He's a lovely lad, and I tuned in. I was buzzing to see him fight, mate. Obviously, you're on the same bill as Rico. Now I watched that from home. I wanted to be there as well. I was like, I want to be out in Marbella. I want to see all this going on. Yeah. And I remember watching you used to with obviously the pull again. I knew I wanted to get you on the podcast. I'd already had Rico on. I know quite a few lads in the bare knuckle scene anyway. My heart was doing fucking 90 seeing you in there, and I thought, for fuck's sake, like, I just wanted to fucking knock this lad. It's all I wanted, mate, right? Yeah. And that's all I wanted. Yeah. Little old ads in Sunderland. I can only imagine what was going through you. Yeah. Do you get the fear?
Absolutely. Terrified. Absolutely petrified every time. And that's the reason I do it. That's the sole reason that I do it. Nothing like it, mate. Nothing makes you feel more alive than being terrified. You know, absolutely petrified of being made a mug of. Petrified of getting slapped silly in the first 5 seconds, you know, and everybody laughing at you. And all the other doubts and all the other stuff that goes through fighters' head, and I'm not alone. You know, all that stuff. You're sitting like you're never gonna, but you're sort of wondering how to get out of this fight. You know, that's where your head goes, mate.
Where's the back door?
You're that scared. You know what I mean? And that's why I do it. That's why I love it. That fear. Nothing makes you feel more alive. I've said it before, you know, you're that in the moment, mate, when you're in the mix and you're bleeding and you're in a fight with somebody. You can nearly see the atoms vibrate. You are that there. You know what I mean? Nothing comes close to it. I said it before, mate, not even sex. Nothing comes close to it, mate, that androcrenal charge. You know, your hormones just go through the roof. You're given that strength. You know what I mean? That fight or flight.
Do you think it's an ego thing? You know, when I mean, not ego's maybe is the wrong word, but you know when, like, you don't want to lose that fight, you're saying, like, you don't want to be made a mug of. But you've got to remember them people who are laughing, like, there's a very an elite few people who are going to get in the ring with the likes of the lads you've faced. Yeah. So really anybody laughing would never be in that position anyway.
If you don't know by now, I run a business called The Content PT. I create content for influencers, PTs, online coaches and fitness brands all around the world. So if you are someone who's in need for sexy content for your social media, or you really want to maintain a competitive edge in your industry, drop me a DM on Instagram.
Absolutely, mate, and I get that, but it's just one of them things that run through your head. You know, I know anybody that laughs at a fighter getting beat isn't a fighter themselves. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm aware of that. But as fighters, we all have egos, you know, and some of them are massive, and mine's been huge before, many a time, you know, and I've got to keep myself in check. I've got to remind myself that I'm nobody, and I know nothing, you know, and I've got to keep myself teachable. I know nothing, you know, I don't know anything about anything, you know what I mean? That's what I've got to remind myself. I'm just nobody. And, you know, if I can be used to do something good, then that's brilliant, and one way or the other, I'll try my best. That's why I'm comfortable walking away from the Dave Mundell fight. I tried my best. And if I'd have had a shit camp, or if I'd have had a bit of a, you know, in the middle somewhere, I would have been beating myself up thinking, shoulda, coulda, woulda. You know, should have done this. My nutrition was on point, my sparring was on point. everything was on point. My weight, I'd done everything perfectly. I'd never come into a fight so hot. I thought I was going to punch him into the front row. I was that confident. And obviously after a minute or so, I knew how good he was and I couldn't get near him. I remembered feeling like he was on skates. Every time I thought he was there, he was nowhere near. And every time I thought he was nowhere near, he was there. I couldn't even land clean. I think I hit him 2 or 3 times in the whole time he smashed us to bits. But I draw comfort from knowing the shape that I went into that fight in. No stone was unturned. I went in the best version of myself. And that's why I can walk away, you know, because I've got no regrets at all. And I've loved every second of it.
And you've got to think as well, I mean, not making, you know, you lost that fight, you know, we'll get it. But this lad who you fought, he's dedicated his life pretty much to this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how, like, and again, how do you expect to beat someone who's done that in comparison? Really? Do you, like, you know, if it was you and you did the work that he done up until this point, my money's going to be on you every time, because it's like, well, who's going to challenge him when he's dedicated his life? You've done everything you've done out of the streets and the boxing when you were young and the amateurs and all that type of stuff up until now, but there's still a level of experience required.
100% it's experience. You know, it comes down to gym time and fight time. It's that simple. You know, you can't. And for all I've done very well, you know, if I've got a mediocre skill set, I was incredibly fit and incredibly strong and game and rough, and I was resilient and all that stuff. And they were my strengths, you know, not my skill. Because, you know, and that's his game. That's why I think the rougher kids, if you're rough and you're fit, I think you'll do better than someone who's extremely talented and, you know, mediocre fitness. They'll come through in this game. But then, of course, you've got lads at the top of the tree who are incredibly talented and tough and have dedicated their life to it. So for me to only be in a gym for 2.5 years, get to the position I got in and fight some of the people that I've fought, for me it's an incredible achievement.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. And you've got to remember, although you've had a short time span, you know, in that gym, you've still earned the right to be there.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So there's something that you've got that the majority of the population in the world don't have. That's frightening, that, when you look at the statistics, to think about that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine? How does it compare, you know, when you have these, like, not mentioning names, but you know when you have like the YouTube beefs with people and all that type of stuff, and you know that you've had a few fights where they've went viral and all that. How does it compare to being in the BKFC to that?
Doesn't come nowhere near, mate. Chalk and cheese, night and day. Completely different
What
feelings.
about the rush you get from the actual fight itself?
Not like, mate. You know, it's there. You know, it's there. But, you know, I'm trying to think of an example, you know, I don't know. It's like having a line of, you know, and then having a line of, you know, there's worlds between them, mate. And that's where it is. The feeling, the androcrenal charge, the adrenaline, that's not the same. It's not heightened as much. And it's like anybody can chin anybody, can't they? There and then. You know, how many people do you know? Rough lad, him, hard fighting lad. Right? What's he ever done? Has he ever had 10 weeks in a gym? Fight someone else who's had 10 weeks in a gym and had 10 weeks to think about it? Nah, he's not a fighter then, is he?
Different beast, like.
If you just fight there and then, and your fights happen there and then in a pub when you're full of drink and wire, you know, and that's your comfort zone, that's where you fight. To me, you're not a fighter. You know, a real fighter is fighting another real fighter. And that separates the men from the boys. You know, I've seen 1,000,001 of these pub fighters come and go. They're not worth a sausage. When you put them in a gym and say, oh, by the way, I've even heard somebody say, who was a big rough lad from Carlisle, I've heard somebody say, I know, but I'm going to be fighting people the same size as me. I was like, what, you want to just be knocking kids about the half the size of you, like 17, I'm going to be fighting the same people as me, 17 stone. What on earth do you expect, mate? Do you know what I mean? Like, just stick to the football or something, mate.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
That's the thing, like, isn't it?
That's it.
When you're doing these things, when you kind of, the YouTube side of stuff, how much are you conscious of growing your profile? Because I know obviously you've did a fair bit on YouTube and stuff, and I've seen the bits of podcasts and stuff you've done. And again, I'll tell you again, I take a lot of inspiration from that. But I understand, because obviously I work with a lot of fighters. I see another angle. There's a profile to be risen here. There's a lot of things to do, not just the fighting itself. Mm-hmm. Now, we all know that you can make a lot more money from social media than what you can fighting itself, which Absolutely. Is mental. How much of that are you conscious about?
I mean, I know I'm aware of it. You know, it's not something I think about. It's not like a, how can I put it, like an avenue I'm pursuing. But I get it. You know, I first come onto the internet, YouTube, whatever, from ripping the piss right out of someone. No, that's how I come on. That was the first time anyone had ever seen or heard of me, off me nut, terrorising someone from my town who thought he was it. You know, thought he was it. And just heard a lot of stuff about him that I didn't like and started terrorising him. And I've got a mouth on me, mate, you know, and if I dislike you and I'm willing to take the piss out of you, you know, I'm pretty good at it, you know, and I was, you know, destroyed this lad for weeks. That's how I come on, you know, so I wasn't exactly displaying a positive message. I wasn't being positive. I was swearing a lot. I was dead aggressive. I was obnoxious. I was ignorant. And I couldn't wait to get my hands on this kid. And I made that known in every video that I made. And then I had a bit of an absence because I got sent away for all this chewing. And I come back, you know, the next time I come on the internet, if you like, after I'd had this fight with this kid, I started sorting myself out. And I just thought it's a bit of a, is it a vlog or something you call them?
Yeah.
A vlog or
Like
something.
a vlog,
One of them.
video.
I just thought I'm just going to come on here and document, like, you know, how I'm feeling, where my head is with it, trying to get clean. You know, the difficulties and the struggles and that will come with that. I'm just going to come on here and voice a few of my feelings and my concerns and that and see how it goes. That was how it went. And obviously I'm very fortunate. My channel spins a pound or two, and I'm knocking on the door of about 40 something thousand subscribers. So I'm pleased, you know, that I've done well, unintentionally done well.
Do you know what they say, mate? They say 10,000 subs on YouTube is about 150,000 followers on Instagram. They say that's how hard it is to get to that.
It's a difficult platform to build.
It is like.
I've been lucky.
It just goes to show that, you know, people have bought into you. And this is the thing, right? When I've consumed your content and watched your journey, regardless what it is, I've bought into you. So there's somewhere along the way, there's something that you've said. Even when you've been, you know, when you talk about you were negative before and stuff and, you know, terrorising this lad and stuff, I can tell deep down you're a good lad. You kind of, it's weird, mate, and you get this with certain people. You know, some people are just arseholes. You do. You're like, you're an arsehole. With you can tell, like, you're a sound lad. And I think that's what it is. I think people can resonate with that. And sometimes you've got to play the game. Sometimes you've got to call people out and say stupid things and stuff. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you do. I've done it before with thumbnails on podcasts. Do you know what I mean? Just try. But I understand the game. I want people to watch the content because I know there's value in it.
Mate, you've got to play the game.
You've got to play the game. And I think there's a lot of people who don't understand that, though, Danny.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. You know, caution, mate, you've got to play the game. You know something? You have to win whatever you're doing, whatever role, especially when it comes to social media and that. And, you know, we'll use my last fight as an example. I ripped into Dave Mundell a bit. You know, the truth is, I've been a fan of Dave Mundell long before I started with the BKFC. We were sat in don't want to say crack house, it's a sesh ken, right? 4 or 5 years ago. Come on, we started watching a bit of the BKFC, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. It was like Reggie Barnett and Dave Mundell and all these people that first started in the BKFC. I remember watching thinking, they are some rough kids, some really rough men, you know what I mean? And then would you believe it, you know, 2-3 years later, I'm fighting him. And I noised him up on the way up, you know, I played the game a little bit and I noised him up, sent him a few messages and that, you know what I mean, noise him up. He never bit, mate. A consummate professional. But that's not me, mate. You know, if I'm going to have a fight with someone, I'm going to have a fight with someone. It doesn't matter what we say. That's the ultimate way of settling the argument. You know, so why waste your breath, you know, giving someone abuse? I'm going to try and break your nose, mate. What's the point of slagging each other off? But I've done it a little bit, you know, and that's what I couldn't wait to get over there once he'd chinned us. As soon as I knew the fight was over, first thing in my head was get over there and show this man his fucking respect that he deserves. You know what I mean? And I done that. I went over and I put my hand out and, you know, he hugged us and I said, listen, mate, I said, I've been a fan for years. I said, I want to take back anything that I've said that might have upset you. And he just laughed. He said, mate, you're playing the game. He said, it's what we do. Don't worry about it. You know, I'm glad you accepted the fight when nobody else would. You know, I said, thank you. And I've got a massive respect for Dave Mundell. And I'm a fan, you know, and I'll be supporting him in the future. And they introduced him as the pound for pound #1, you know, and I think he's got the longest active win streak in the BKFC at the minute. So I've got no shame in getting smashed to bits off that man.
See, that's what I mean. It just kind of shows your character, doesn't it, doing that? Because how many people would want to, you know, they'd be that bitter and that resentment, like they'd feel the resentment, the fact that they lost a fight, and to admit that not only are you a fan, to go and show that appreciation straight after you just knocked 10 shades of shit out of you. Yeah. It's fucking unbelievable to see. And again, this is exactly what people need to be watching. They need to be looking up to people like you and understanding this. Regardless, you've got to play the game, but play it right and play it with respect. I always say this. I say, if you do things with good intentions and pure heart, you'll do well.
Yeah.
Regardless what you do. And I genuinely believe that, mate.
That's it. You know, you've got to play the game, of course. But I think when you've been genuine, you know, I always been a bit, you know, disingenuine, calling him this, that, and the other. I didn't mean it. I was trying to noise the fight up. But I think when you are being genuine, like some of the videos that I like to make on me platform and stuff, that I just say how I am, where I feel, you know, how I feel, where I am, that sort of stuff. But I think when you're doing that, you know, you have to be yourself. You know, you can't. I think the second you start catering for an audience, you won't please anyone. You know, it's be you, be who you are. And if people don't like it, that's fine. You know, but don't cater for this one or that one. You know, don't think you should say this or you should say that. You know what I mean? When you're playing the game, playing the game. When you're being you, be you, mate.
I love that. Your relationship with Tommy Robinson, how did that come about?
We had a mutual friend, God rest his soul, Andy Bomber. We had a mutual friend, and I knew this lad was doing a bit of security for Tommy, and that they were going out to Ireland, they were filming and documenting all this immigration and that what's going on, illegal immigration, unvetted immigration, whatever you want to call it, that was going on in Ireland. And it was before it all kicked off over there. And he's like, do you want to come over and do a bit of security in that? Paid work. And I always liked Tommy Robinson anyway. I liked everything he's ever said and everything he's ever done. And I like him as a person. I like him even more now. I know who he is. And I said, yeah, I jumped at the chance. You know, a free holiday in Ireland, getting a couple of quid, following Tommy about, meeting him, whatever. Yeah, and that's how it come about. And I like him. You know, I like him a lot. Obviously, a bit of a shit thing what's going on with him getting jailed at the minute, mate. But we're always in touch. You know, I've got a lot of time and respect for him.
Do you think, and the reason I want to ask you about Tommy, mate, because obviously you know him, so it's a bit, I've never met the lad, I don't know nothing about him. I know obviously how he's portrayed in the media or how he wants to put himself out there. Do you think, do you think the perception of Tommy Robinson is correct? So do you think, because a lot of people say he's this, he's that, he's the other, he's right wing, he's racist, all the usual crap, mate. Do you think he plays the game as well?
To a certain degree, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's very genuine.
Yeah.
And he's incredibly educated. Mm-hmm. You know, you want to talk to him about politics or religion, there's nothing he can't answer. You know, you never put him on the spot. You know, he's educated himself that much to a degree where he can go on Piers Morgan and destroy Piers Morgan, you know, on his own show, because he's got the education to do that. So, yeah, he's a clever lad and he knows what he's doing, you know, put it that way. But I just like it. I like his views. I like his standpoint and whatever. People say he's, you know, whatever people say he is, you know, I know he's genuine.
Because for me, the way I look at it is, Danny, regardless of who it is, whether it's you, fucking Tommy, doesn't matter who it is, I cannot judge someone until I've met them. Mm-hmm. I need to meet them first.
Yeah.
And then I can, because regardless, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Someone's going to say something about you, someone's going to say something about me. Yeah. There's going to be people who don't like you, and I'll go, well, I've sat in front of him for an hour and had a good conversation. No, he's a nice, I know he's a nice lad. Yeah. So no one can tell us different. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that.
And it's the same with him. But what I do like is anybody who stands up for something, regardless what it is.
Absolutely.
But this is why it arcs back to fighting. This is why it was important to have you on. Like, you've went from fucking the shit that you've done and obviously being locked up and all the stuff, and you probably let people down along the way, but then you've also been a beacon of light for people as well, because you've just went for something. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? You've battled addiction, you've been on the bottom. You know when you were saying about them lads ringing you when they've been on the session, like trying to, Danny, can you help us? You've probably been that lad at one point.
Perhaps, yeah.
But it's being able to understand that and get through it. That's the thing.
To a certain degree, maybe, you know, but like I say, the way I got clean was getting help. You know, I got the help. You know, for me, messaging somebody like that, you know, I don't even know if it's a cry for help. You know, I know that isn't what you do. You know, and I know if you want to get clean, you know, messaging somebody who is clean when you're off your nut isn't really the way to go about it, mate. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's that simple, so... But I get it. And going back to what you're saying about people standing up for what they believe in, mate, that's where my heart is, mate. That's why I've got love and admiration for people like Tommy and other people who stand up for what they believe in, because today in this world, you can hardly say anything without upsetting somebody. You know, everybody's feelings are involved. We talked about it before.
Yeah, that's right.
Everyone's feelings are involved, mate. Well, you've got to get to the point sometimes when you know, pardon my French, you know, God forgive me for what I'm about to say, but fuck the feelings, mate. You know, like if you've got somebody standing up and voicing and giving everything they've got for what they believe in, what they wholeheartedly believe in, like, so what if you're upset? Strong views are always going to polarize people. You know, you're always going to get some people loving it, some people hating it. Like I say, you can't cater for people when you're being genuine.
Of course.
You know, it is what it is. If people get upset, deal with it. You know, it's part of life. Anybody who's happy all the time, I would say they're not well. You know, mate, you've got the complexity of life to deal with. You know, like somebody said something that you didn't like. Wow. I mean, what are you going to do? Ring the police? You know, like, deal with it, mate. You know what I mean?
I get you. What was your lowest point so far?
Oh, I've been asked this a few times, mate. It was HMP Preston. I think it was the 23rd of December, a couple of days before Christmas, 2019. It all just came crashing down for us, mate. I was obviously still in active addiction, using 3, 4, 5 times a day, sometimes in jail. I had a load of loss that year. Lost a load of family members, and I don't mean 1 or 2. I lost aunties, I lost uncles, I lost nanas and granddads on both sides. It was just a year where I was surrounded by loss. And I masked it all with drugs, you know. I was in jail. This story is not unheard. The chaplain come and knocked on my door. I knew it was bad, took me down to the chapel, told me that my auntie had died. You know, I'd had a lot of death, you know what I mean? And for whatever reason, it was just like the straw that broke the camel's back, mate. I broke down. I had a proper breakdown in the chapel, and I cried for hours. I cried a bucket of tears. And I went back to my pad in the end after a few hours. And I said briefly before I couldn't look at myself in the mirror, and that was this time. I had one of them little plastic mirrors what you get in jail, and I just stared at myself like 5, 6 hours, well after midnight, just stared at myself. And I knew then and there I had to change. You know what I mean? I knew my life would be so much better without drugs. I knew that I was the problem, you know, nobody else. And up until that day, I could blame everything on anyone. It was never my fault. It was always somebody else's fault. That day changed everything. That day I knew it was me, it was nobody else. Everything was my fault, you know. Accountability and responsibility just hit us like, you know, a bat to the chin. And it floored us, you know, and it took a while to get myself right. In fact, I would say it took us 2 years from that day to get myself straight, because every time I was using was going to be the last, and I was using 5 times a day from that moment. Obviously, when I got out, I went right back to my drugs of choice. But that was the turning point, you know. It was the lowest point I've ever had in my life, you know, a very, very lonely time in jail with someone I didn't know in a pad, like, horrible time, mate, you know. But I don't regret it at all. I needed that. You know, I needed that, mate. It was the only way I was going to change. The same as all, you want to call it regrets, you know, I don't live in regret, but it creeps up sometimes. I can take everything that's ever happened to me. You know, I've been stabbed 3 times. I've been shot in the back. I've been kicked from pillar to post. I've been hit with all kinds. I've been kicked and battered all my life. I can take all that, mate. I'm built for that. I could do it all again 10 times over, mate, and it wouldn't bother me 1 iota, mate. I'd do it in a heartbeat. It's nothing to us. I'm used to it. But all the hurt I've caused other people, mate, unnecessarily. You know, I've hurt people physically, emotionally. You know, I've caused a lot of people a lot of harm. I've broke a lot of hearts over the years, and unnecessarily as well. That's what keeps me up, mate. You know, and that's the only thing, if I could go back with some magic wand, you know, and I know it shoulda, coulda, woulda, but that's the only thing I would ever change. But I think I needed that as well. You know, I needed that. It's the only way I was going to become a better person, by not wanting to hurt anyone anymore. You know, not wanting to do the things that I've always done, you know, and have this regret and remorse and all whatever, you know, creeping in sometimes, and having sleepless nights, and that was the only way I was going to change and become the person that I am today. I know who I am, mate, you know, and I'm not my past. And I try my best every day to be the best version of myself. You know, it's not easy because we've got habits, old habits creep in. Sometimes I just want to crack someone. But, you know, I don't, you know, but don't for a minute think what's inside my head is any kind of sanctuary, mate, because it's a shed, you know what I mean? And things go a million mile an hour sometimes, and I'm impatient, and I'm improper, and I'm a lot of things, you know, many things, and, you know, some good, some bad.
Because humans are funny, mate, aren't they? Because
Mate.
they've got to go through, you know when people make most change, Danny, it's when they've went through. So if you look at this, right, you know when people get told they've got cancer, stop smoking. You know when people go through something, they'll start something else. It's almost like you've got to hit something to change.
Yeah.
I was 18.5 stone, fat as out, need to lose weight, went down to 10.
Fair play to you, mate.
Never gonna happen. Now I'm like trying to go back. I'm trying to go.
You were 18.5 stone?
I was,
Wow, mate. Fair
till I
play
was
to you.
about, till I was early 20s.
Fair
So it was
play to
always
you,
something
mate.
I battle with, and I thought, no, I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah.
But I'm one of them people, I'm stubborn as out, mate, at my own head, so I'm like, I don't need a coach. I didn't need to get in my local boxing gym. I didn't want to do that. I'm just going to literally just eat less food and try and run and just do it.
Yeah.
But I know that everyone's got the strength in them to do it on the run. I'd only, you know, when you're talking about help and stuff, again, if you can reach out and get help, fair enough. But everyone's got it in them.
Yeah.
Because you can ring the best person who can help you in the world, but if you didn't want it, you're not going to do it anyway. So it's all bullshit.
I can agree with that to a certain degree. 100% I can. You know, I think, and as well, it's horses for courses. You know, everybody's different, man. You know, you can't pigeonhole people. You can't just say this is what you need to do. You know what I mean? Says who? Like, who are you? Like, you take all this different experience from all these different people. That's why I liked going to the fellowship, because people in there with experience, people in there that's done worse, been worse, had worse. You know, these are the people that I like to draw things from. You know, I'm not going to learn anything from David Beckham. You know what I mean? Couldn't teach me fuck all. You know, I need to learn from the people who's been there, mate. You know, I need to learn from the people who's been through the mire, and they've come out on the other side. You know, swam through a river of shit and come out smelling the roses. You know, they're the people I want to be around. They're the people I want to surround myself with. Real people with real problems in the real world. You know, not this mollycoddled woke society, and that. It just irritates the life out of us.
Who do you look up to?
My granda, you know, he's long in the ground now.
Was he your role model?
Yeah, he's my hero, mate.
What is it about him that you're drawn towards? Like, why do you take inspiration from your granddad, other than the fact that he's your granddad?
Best man I've ever met. You know, just the greatest man I've ever come across, by far. You know, and it's just, isn't that just the way? You know, so many people will think that about their granddad and their dad. You know, they were the best person. But that's just where I am with it. It was the best person ever. You know, he was born in 1932. You know, people back then were just so different. And I've said it before, like, the moral values, what they had, you know, the level of commitment and all the other stuff that went with people who came before us, it's extinct now, mate. It's gone. Them values, them people will never be reborn. They're never going to come back. You know, that whole section of humanity is gone. It's never going to come back. Now you've got, like, in it fam. You know, and you've got all these muppets.
It's getting used for the teaser, that, mate.
Yeah, do you know what I mean, though?
No, I know what you're saying.
It's like, mate, as well, like, and it's just how it is, mate. You know, people are just so different now, and I get it. I get it. I just feel like with spending that much time with him, I wish I was born then. I wish I was born in the 1930s.
I think you're a bit of an old soul deep down.
100%. I've been told it off a million people all my life. You know what I mean? People who love us, people who know us. I've been told it off all my family, mate. I'm an old soul, whatever that means. But I do have a fascination with them times, simple times. You know, when things had value, things were built to last, were meant to last. There was a level of commitment. You know, you got married, it was for life. All that stuff, mate, you know, and it's gone, mate. It's absolutely gone.
It's sad, isn't it? Because I think social media plays a big part in that. Because now you've,
100%.
I mean, even the dating scene, people just swipe.
Yeah.
You do it. You have an argument, bang. You see it all the time. It happens all the time.
That's
And again, that's why I know what you mean about level of commitment. And I mean, you know, I've seen a lot of this go on around us by different people and stuff like that. And it is sad to see. Is there? How old were you when he passed?
It was about, God, mate, you're asking now, 7 years ago or something.
Also, it was.
early
That's still
30s.
fair. I thought it was like when you were a kid.
No, I was very, very fortunate enough to have him in my life till I was 30-odd year old. You know what I mean? Very, very fortunate. And anything that's good in me, any manners, anything that's good, it comes from him. You know what I mean?
It's unbelievable, mate, because, well, my granddad died, I think it was the year before I was born, so I never got to meet him. And I've got older brothers and sisters and that who met him, so it's like, and they tell the stories and stuff, and it's like, I always feel like I wish I just got to meet that bloke, do you know what I mean? It's like, when I see people like you and you've had them up until your 30s, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Have you got a memory, that very fond memory? Is there something that he said or did, or just a time?
Countless. I've got a catalogue of memories.
Have you got a highlight? Have you got something?
Yeah, I have, you know, but it's mainly what he said, you know, endless stuff what he said to us, what meant nothing at the time, you know. Isn't it just funny how many times has that happened to you or to happen to everyone? Yeah. Someone tells you something when you're a bairn or you maybe mid-20s, you're maybe just not ready for that message. Can't sink in, mate, you can't see through it. It's a blur, doesn't mean anything, falls on deaf ears, whatever you want to call it. One day that penny will drop and you'll be cast right back to that moment where you're with them. You can see them saying it. You know, you can remember that feeling. You can remember the emotion that you had at the time. It casts me back. And I think, wow, wasn't he right? It's like, I don't know what you want to call that moment, but happens to me a lot. Sometimes I can come, just funny, I was on about this to Foxy the other day, we were talking about it. Every now and then, my mind will be cast back to something. And it's not just a memory, it's like I'm there. The emotions, what were alive at the time, come back. You know, like, even if I may be having a bit of chew with someone, like I can feel that chew. I can feel it. Or I'm maybe like, I was maybe with a different bird or something. Like I cannot feel that. For whatever reason, it just takes me back to that time and the place for a couple of seconds and it'll just go. It's like, it's mad. Because
obviously when you experience that moment, you're probably so in the present consciously. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, it happens a lot, you know. It's like cast back. It's a funny old game, you know.
It's important, and the reason I ask, obviously, about, again, I didn't know you were going to see your granddad, but the reason I asked about role models and stuff, mate, is because, again, it paints a picture for me, like, why you are the man you are. And I think that's really important, that, because I bet you there's a lot of people who don't understand who their own role models were, and they don't realise, but if they ask the question, then they start, okay, actually, they played a big part. Yeah. When obviously, when he did pass, where were you? Like, what were you doing in your life? Like, what did he see last of you?
I was in jail, mate.
You were in jail?
I went to jail, and it was the second last time I was in. And my mum and that never told him I was in jail. My mum told him I was working away. I used to do a bit of working away anyway. So my mum told him I was working away. It was in a bad way, you know. The doctors told him he had a couple of weeks to live. Whatever you want to call that, notice or whatever, you know, that came through. The doctor said he's on his way out. So, a sterling work of my legal team, made a bail application because of the position I was in and the fact that I'd lived with him and I called him dad and he wasn't just a normal granddad to me, you know. And I got out on a compassionate bail with immediate release.
Fucking hell, mate.
And I got out and I went to see him and yeah, I was very, very fortunate, praise God, that I got to see him in his dying hour. Because I left and I said I was going to come back in the morning and give him his yogurt, and he died within the hour. So, you know, it's almost inexpressible how fortunate and how grateful I am for that moment.
It's unbelievable, that, mate. You got a moment there like that.
Yeah.
Very, very lucky, like.
Yeah.
Do you think he'd be wanting you to go down the direction you did with the bare knuckle stuff?
Probably not. No, you know, he wasn't a violent man. You know, he was a good man, a really good man. And you know, it's his words that are echoing around my head when I've decided to walk away from this game. You know, get out while you can. Get out while you can. You know, I'm better than that. I don't want to be turned into someone's punch bag, mate. You know,
I get that. Like,
I've got 5 bairns, mate. I don't want to let them see their dad getting smashed to bits on telly, mate, any more than I already have been. You know what I mean? I'm getting out of this game on my terms. You know, when I want to get out. I've still got all my faculties. I'm lucky. You know, I'm very, very fortunate, praise God.
It's really interesting you say that, because selfishly, when I look at you, I want you to keep fighting.
Yeah.
But when I really look at you because I've got children. And when I look at you, I'm like, mate, I totally get it. And if that's right for you, it's right for you. because there's people who depend on you more. And just like your granddad, there's someone who looks at you like you did your granddad now.
Yeah.
And it's fucking important. You know what I mean?
Of course it is, mate. And me as a fight fan, ever since I knew what fighting was, I would love fighting. I absolutely love fighting. I love being fighting. I love being a fighter. I love watching fighting. I can watch fighting, mate, till the cows come home. If me and you's talking right now and there's a fight on a screen over there, I'm over there. I don't know what you're saying. You know what I mean? I'm not tuned into it. And I've seen far too many of my favourite fighters stick about in the game for far too long. You know what I mean? I'm 39 years old, mate. I'm well past my prime. My prime was spent before I started this game. Do you know how grateful and fortunate I am, praise God, that I've had the opportunity to do what I've done and been given the ability and the capability to do what I've done at 37. Mate, praise God.
Have you always been religious, Danny?
No.
When did that happen?
Not so long ago, mate. I've been always searching for something, like I said. And when it landed in my lap, mate, it was so obvious. It was so blatantly obvious. You know what I mean? It'd been staring us in my face my entire life and I hadn't even known.
What happened?
The simplicity of God. Just there, all the time, every second, never goes away. God's in the present moment, mate, and nothing else.
Did you not believe in God before, or you just didn't consider it?
I would say I probably wasn't a believer, but I always believed in the afterlife. I don't know how those two tie together, but. And then with my experiences with DMT and that a few years ago, then I was certain there was more. Then I just knew without uncertainty that there was more. And then through extensive reading and searching, and the penny just dropped one day, and I was getting closer and closer. I was like, feeling, I was like, that's just mad. And, and I think ultimately the penny dropped when I was reading the book, The Power of Now.
Right.
And the penny just dropped and I just couldn't believe it and I just wept. I just cried a river, mate. Couldn't believe how simple it was. The penny just dropped. It was like I was getting closer and closer and closer, and then it just went bang. And all the light, it just flooded in. The Holy Spirit was there, mate. Without uncertainty, I felt it. I feel it now. And so eternally grateful, praise God. Because I understand, the difficulties sometimes in maybe talking about these things, and I don't push it down anybody's throat. I love reading scripture. I love listening to people preach the gospel. I love that stuff.
Well, you open your videos with it, don't you? What do you say in your videos?
I stole that from my favourite comedian, Bill Hicks. Hello, brothers and sisters, lovers and haters, friends and neighbours, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls and vibrations in the mind of the one true God. And I used to say that when he come on stage, and I loved him. I was gone long when I was a band, but I've always watched his stuff over the past couple of years, watched everything he's ever done, and loved him. What a human he was. Incredible comedian as well, but he was more than a comedian. And yeah, it's just where I am with it, mate. I don't force it on no one, and I don't believe, mate. I know. You know what I mean? I don't need to believe. I know without uncertainty there is a God, and he exists in a plane of existence, if you like, which is now. There's nothing else but now. You know what I mean? There is nothing else. All this other stuff that we put our focus into, we worry about yesterday, worry about tomorrow, it's all an illusion, mate. None of it's real.
When you mentioned about you had that void when you were younger,
yeah,
and all that, I think that was just you not believing in God.
Yeah, well, it could have been a few things. All I know is there is a God, without uncertainty. And if anybody had tried to say to me what I'm trying to say to you even a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I just laughed at it. It meant nothing to me. Even though I was searching, the penny just didn't drop. It's the single most amazing thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Finding God. Nothing's ever come close to it, mate. And it's funny because my lass, who I love to bits, I loved her the first day I met her 14 years ago, and we've been on and off ever since. We've had a great run now for the past few years, and me and her are going to make it, mate. I know we are. But she's not a believer, so we have conflicting conversations and conflicting ideas sometimes, but that's good, and that's healthy, because this is how it is.
It expands your horizon as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Of thoughts.
They're all saying, you hear everyone saying it is what it is. It's just like a thing now, isn't it? Everyone just says it. You say it if you, but you can say it if your cup of tea is too cold. It is what it is. For me, it's much more than that. For me to say it is what it is means you are at one and you are at peace with your life circumstance and your life situation. Accept it for what it is. Surrender to it. Don't fight something you can't control. You're going to do your own editing. It's not bad for your mental health. It's very unhealthy. Accept it, mate, for what it is. Surrender to your life situation.
That's how you learn to love yourself and all.
Yeah, of course.
Because that's how I think that's how you truly set free, when you make peace with that.
Yes, mate.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm very fortunate, I've been saved and life's good. Life is good. The only problem I've got is me. Sometimes in my own head. I haven't got any problems what I want to complain about in my own life. There's nothing in my situation or circumstance that's bad. Nothing.
I know you're saying you don't live with regrets. Do you think there's anything unanswered for you?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Is there a certain question that you want the answer to right now?
Mate, I don't know where to start with the questions that I don't have the answer to. For me, that's the beauty in it. Nobody knows everything, and I like knowing nothing.
But I mean, is there something that really gets you? If it's keeping you up at night, is there something where you're like,
no,
this is something that I'm not doing, I know I should be? Is there something there that...
No, nothing. The only thing I had like that was when I was getting closer and closer to finding out, to getting a breakthrough on what was, what is. And once it happened, mate, like I say, it was the best thing that's ever happened to us. And nothing's ever came close to that feeling. It was like a liberating feeling like no other. I just knew it was never going to go away. And that once it was there, that's all he ever was. And like it says in the Bible, it's all he ever will be. It's all he ever is, and it's all he ever will be, and it's all he ever was. That's it.
Danny, you mentioned earlier about being shot in the back.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I was on a tax, mate. I taxed someone, and I was taking off down a lane. It was like a cut, like the little cut, about 4 or 5 feet wide, and there was bollards there. And I was running off up the lane, and I got shot with a 2.2 bullet gun from a rifle, and it was just in the shoulder blade, and it went in a bit. And we never noticed it till I got back to the house and I took my top off. I was bleeding a bit, and it never bothered me. I never went to hospital till the next day. They took the bullet out. I was very lucky. You know what I mean?
How does it feel to be shot?
Didn't hurt at all. I was off my nut but same as getting stabbed. It doesn't hurt either at the time. It just feels like somebody giving you a dig.
When you got stabbed 3 times, were they on separate occasions?
No, it was in the same sitting.
And what was that over?
Again, mate, I was on a tax. I'd been thinking I was someone that I wasn't. Desperate for money and drugs. The
reason I want to, and again for you, when you say I was on a tax, I understand what you're talking about. But for the listeners and viewers, what does that mean?
Taking money and drugs off drug dealers. It's not it's a lucrative business, but it's not very sustainable. And you know what these people are like, mate. They don't want to give it up. And if they get a chance to put a hole in you, they will.
Were you fearful when you were doing them things? Or was it again a case of just not being present because you're off your nut all the time?
No, I didn't care. I didn't even care when they dropped me off at the hospital. That's all I can remember. I passed out and I got an airlift over here to get a transfusion and that. But I was very lucky. But now you don't think about it and never give it a second thought, mate, until I got clean and I sorted myself out and thought, wow, you were really lucky there, mate.
What's the worst thing you've experienced in your life, other than obviously losing your granddad?
Oh, mate, I've got a catalogue of bad experiences, mate. I can't really think of something specific that stands out. The pain I've caused others. That probably eats away at me more than anything else. Spoke about it before, emotional damage and stuff I've done to people unnecessarily, just to please myself or just to get a little something out of it for myself. Yeah, that stuff's not so good.
The reason I asked that again, mate, I'm trying to paint the picture in my head of kind of your journey, and obviously that you've touched on the kind of pain of causing others, and again it's so weird because from you're the guy who you've inflicted pain on others and things, and the regret or the remorse that you have to that, it almost doesn't add up to the person you are, because deep down you're a nice lad. So when you were doing them things and causing pain to others, did you know it was wrong?
Yeah, of course. But I'd done them anyway because I was desperate and I was an addict, and I needed to fuel my lifestyle and my addiction, and I was willing to go through walls, to get what I wanted, driven by substances. So it just never bothered me, and I knew it was wrong, but not enough to. I didn't know it was wrong enough, to not want to do it. Or, it never stopped me. I've never been on the way to do something really bad and thought when I was in the mire and the addiction. It's very different now, but I was never ever on the way to do something bad and thought, this could end not so good, or maybe I shouldn't do this. Yeah, I knew it was bad and I'd done it anyway.
No, I appreciate your honesty, mate, because that's again, it's like it's trying to understand the mind, and I know, because the reason I ask this, mate, again, because to you probably thinking bit of a mad question that, but to understand that when you're in that mindset and you're doing them things, it's wrong, but you'll do it anyway. I think that's the difference in it. It's carrying out that act regardless.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about taking your own life?
I mean, I've thought about it. I've never attempted it out. And I've never thought about it while I'm in good mind, Yeah, I've thought about it when I've been on a bender and that for a couple of days, and depression and that kicks in. I don't think I'm alone there. It's not like I don't get suicidal thoughts or anything like that. But I've thought about ending it a few times when it's just, mate, in a nutshell, mate, I was scared of dealing with the come down. 3 or 4 days in, no sleep, taking a cocktail of drugs, knowing that I couldn't get any more, or knowing that whatever I was going to run out, or the party was going to stop, and I was going to have to go through this shipwreck of a feeling. Yeah, I thought about it.
Are you happy now, Danny?
I think happy is a state of mind. I drift in and out of where I want to be from, where I kind of don't want to be. I'm my own worst enemy, mate. That's the truth, I'm my own worst enemy. I'm as happy as I've ever been, and it's just about trying to do the right thing all the time. I've still got plenty of badness in me, mate. There's still loads there. And, I don't mind that. I don't mind that. I've got more control over it than I've ever had. And, I feel like there's a bomb inside sometimes waiting to go off. And I don't mind that either. It's just part of it. It's much, and I feel like I've got control. That's where I get empowered. I feel like I've got control over my own self, over my own reactions and all this stuff. I've got control over it. What's that saying? It's better to be, or would you rather be, or whatever, like a warrior in a garden or a gardener.
Yeah, I've heard that.
One,
yes, I do know the one.
That's where I am with it, mate. I know I'm dangerous, and I know I can be violent, and I know I can destroy my whole life at any given second. And the fact that I don't do that, and I, whatever, use a bit of control on that more than I've ever had, feels good.
How do you suppress that demon? When that creeps up and that bomb's, it's ticking. How do you actually keep it at bay?
God. Pray. And I'll be grateful for all the things that I've got in my life. It's so simple when the penny dropped. I'd never known anything so simple. It's all overcomplicated. Everything's overcomplicated. It's like God and that and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, well, whatever. For me, it's just so simple.
Because I think that's the thing, the quote, the truth will set you free. Yeah. The fact that you're being vulnerable, even on this podcast, mate, and you're telling us these things, and understanding that there's a bomb ticking there and it could go off at any point, but you're suppressing it. It's you understanding and recognizing, identifying you're like that.
Yeah.
And that's what helps you stop. And that kind of connection, with God or whatever, and whatever you need to do to keep them demons at bay. The way I look at it is, your finding in God has saved your life, effectively.
Yeah, 100%. That and for all you asked today, if I was happy, whether I am or whether I'm not, I can be with God anytime. I can have salvation anytime I want it. It's there. It's not a million mile away. It's there at any given moment. There's a spiritual realm that exists as well. And that's all. That's where you need to go. That's all it is. God is spirit. John 4:24. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. It's not. There's more to it than just me and you sat here, mate.
Yeah, of course.
There's like so much more.
I believe that.
And once the penny dropped with that, once the bigger picture, if you like, was unveiled, things just became so easy. And whether I'm happy or whether I'm not, or whether I can accept my life situation sometimes, and whether I can't, I can always be with God.
You know what's crazy, mate? And I've never said this on a podcast, mate, but and you're like a good example of it. Like when I'm sitting talking to you, because I like you. And you know what I see, like when I'm speaking here, like it's almost like I can see the young version of you. Like, you know, the one who's a little bit lost in the way, they want that fucking ego, they want to spark someone out, they're a bit angry, they haven't got a dad in their life, they're looking up to the granddad. There's all that going on, do you know what I mean? You can see it. It's weird. It's fucking really weird, mate, but I can see it. And I feel like that's how you are. It's like, I feel like you're kind of just winging out of life, you're getting this success, you're just having a go.
Of course I am, mate. I'm winging it. Don't ever think I'm not. You know, and that's you know, the beauty in life. You know, for me, it's like all this stuff was unintentional. You know, I am winging it. But then, you know, was it meant to be, mate? You know, how do you know? Because you don't. Nobody does. You know, you maybe get to a crossroads. You maybe say, should I go left, right, left, right? Oh, about flick a coin then. Whatever. Right? How do you know the way that you've gone isn't the way that you were always meant to go? You don't know. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of it. That's why God's so simple for me. Because we are not in charge, mate. You know, it's that simple.
Do you think that's why you met Gary Fox in prison? Because you passed, didn't you?
Yeah.
You did. No, you didn't meet him. Do you know what I mean, though? Because he told us a mad story about you two.
Mate, listen, mate. Gary Fox is one of the best lads I've ever come across in my whole life, mate. And I've been up and down meeting thousands of people all everywhere. You know, we go on our journey. There's not many people like Gary Fox in this world. You know, he's and I know loads of rough kids. But if it ever goes off, you know, that old situation where it ever goes off and that's the man you want beside you, mate. Trust us. Over anyone and everyone, I would pick him because he's a soldier, mate.
Do you think it's his heart or his ability?
He's a heart on legs. You know, he's a warrior. And, yeah, he's got ability, but I think me and his skill sets are kind of sort of similar. You know, we're about somewhere in the middle. You know, we're not technical geniuses. You know, we haven't got great technique and brilliant footwork and all this talent. You know, we're not loaded with talent. We're just rough, mate, and we can take it. And I know, you know, if I can, anytime I can make my way back to my feet, I'll always continue. Like, I don't care what's happening to us, mate, I can take it. I know that's where his head is as well. You know, it doesn't matter what's going on. And it's a bit like he said something the other day, like, you know, you just want a man to knock him out. Because that's who he is. You know what I mean? He just wants to go to war with people. You see, I had a similar, and I heard him say something once. He said, who are the judges to tell me that I've lost a fight? You know, it's like, who are the judges? Just let me keep fighting, you know, we'll just keep fighting until there's a winner. And I get that. And I said somewhat similar, you know, and listen, I know referees have got a role, and I know it's vital that they do what they do, but sometimes I feel like that when I get stopped. I'm like, mate, this is my face, this is my life, you know, who are you? Just let me continue, you know, I want more, and when I get knocked out, we'll know it's over. You know what I mean?
It's because the refs know deep down, though, if this keeps going on, someone could die.
Listen, mate,
but you're probably prepared to die in that.
They have to save you from yourself.
Yeah,
that's the job. But like I say, it's just whatever it is in me, I just want to keep going. You know, I always want to keep going.
Do you think that fight with Dave could have been any different? Or do you think you truly would have lost regardless?
Listen, you just don't know. You know, fighting's, anything can happen in a fight, as they say. But usually, the best fighter wins. You know, usually the best fighter wins. I would say probably 9 times out of 10, the best fighter will win. And that's what happened that night. The best fighter won.
Danny, I want to ask you, if you could speak to your granddad, what would you tell him now?
I would want to know what he's got to tell me. I don't have anything to say to him. He knows what's in my heart.
What do you think he would tell you?
I have absolutely no idea. You know, that's why I would ask him. But I'll see him again one day. You know, he waits for me. I'll see him again, and I'll see everybody that's ever went before me. You know, that I know.
So selfishly, obviously, I want to see you fight, right? I've told you this a million times now. Is there anyone in particular you'd like to fight?
Not at the minute. You know,
if you ever went back in there, is anyone where you're like, I'd have a go with him?
At the minute, I don't see anybody that could motivate me back into a training camp, you know, in the light heavyweight or the middleweight for that matter. I just don't see it. And there's some really good fighters in the UK, by the way. It's just none of them really motivate me, you know. But like I say, I've still got a fight left on my contract. If a certain fighter gets me dick hard next year, you know, I might come back. Never say never. As it stands, I don't want to think about competing, you know, and there's nobody there that tickles my fancy. So I'm good, retired. Like I say, I've done well. I made a pound or two. And life's pretty good. So nobody at the minute is the answer.
And I just want to ask it again. You don't have to say figures, mate, but how good is the money?
Starting out, it's not great. You know, the bigger your profile get, the higher, the better opponents you get in that. I probably made about similar off my sponsors than what I made off the BKFC, but they've paid me handsomely for a couple of fights, and I'm very pleased. But again, starting out, I was fortunate because I had a gym fight that went viral. You know, and I had people talking about that fight all over the world. So I was pretty fortunate that I was sort of well known, and I didn't go in on pence. You know, I went in okay. I was still getting paid a lot less than a lot of the good fighters and that, of course. But my money went up slowly over time. And, you know, if you build your profile and you keep winning, you can get good money, you know. But for the first 3 or 4 fights, let's just say whatever, probably up until the last fight, whatever, you know, it wasn't quite enough to be a full-time fighter. You know, especially the way I spend money, especially the way my kids spend the money for us. You know, it wasn't enough to be a full-time fighter. But there's the potential there. 100%.
So do you advise someone getting into bare knuckle now? Because I think it's on that wave now where it's about to go bang.
Yeah, it's on the verge of exploding into the biggest sport in the world. I think the only people who don't like it are the people who haven't seen it. You know, because once you get a taste for it, mate. I mean, fighting for me, for anybody else or anything else, gloved fight, whatever it is. There's this hybrid stuff and that to do now. None of it would do for me what the BKFC's done for me. You know, none of it. And I know that before I even started. Nothing will ever come close to being on that stage for them.
So you wouldn't take a quick fight on a Misfits or something?
Well, maybe not. You know, never say never. You know, money talks, and I do like to train, and I like to fight, but as it stands, mate, it's just not something I'm thinking about. The time was right for me to walk away and not worry about what I'm doing next, who I'm fighting next, what show am I going to be on, worrying about all the other things and that's come with it. I'm just at peace, mate, with what I've done, and I can walk away. And, mate, you know something, if I die on the way home, if I don't wake up in the morning, you know, I'm happy with what I've done, mate.
It's unbelievable, that, like. And see, it's like your journey, it's weird, isn't it? Because it's almost like, although I still think you've got more to give, but although your journey's almost complete, it's almost like you've done it, you've proved a point, you've got in there, you've done something in a much quicker space than what most people dedicate their lives to.
Yeah.
So for someone at 39-year-old, you've done a lot in such a short space of time. Yet, I know you're 39 in combat sport, which is probably the back end of the sport, but at the same time, you've done so much in so little time.
Yeah, that's how I feel, you know. I just feel satisfied. I feel fulfilled. That's the word I used. I feel fulfilled. It's not like, I don't even feel like, you know, there's an itch that wants scratched out regarding to the BKFC. I just feel like I've done it all, mate. I've shot me bolt. You know what I mean? I'm finished. I feel complete. You know what I mean?
Not in the ring, but outside the ring, do you get tested on the streets? Do people try it on with you because you've got a name now, especially being on cards like that?
Not so much, because I don't put myself in them situations no more. I know exactly how it would be if I went out drinking round the town or round any of the little villages or out like that. There'd be people queuing up to get a crack at me. It's just how it is. You know, people would love to chin me. You know, I know that's how it goes. Because I've got a bit of a reputation for whatever reason. You know, that's just how lads are. People love knocking people like me out. You know what I mean? It's great for them. But I don't put myself in them situations and that no more. But I've not a doubt in my mind if I went, you know, looking for it, it would find me sharpish.
Do you think you would have wanted to knock you out?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, but that's just, I just, you know, wanted to kind of knock anybody out who could fight at the time when I was doing that. We never, all the kickoffs and that we've ever, I can never remember, I've noised loads of people up and I've caused loads of chew, but always with like lads who looked like they wanted it. Now, I've never been one for starting a fight with someone who didn't want it out. If I know somebody doesn't want to fight it out, you won't even bother them. You know, it is what it is.
You kind of want to test yourself when you were doing that.
You want to fight rough lads, and then you know, that's what you go out for.
What do you want to do with the future then? How do you envisage it? What do you want? If you could look at yourself in 10 years now, what do you want round you? What do you want?
That's a really good question. I've asked people that question a lot in the past, you know, and I'm having to search for an answer now. But I don't know is the answer to that. The best thing I can say to you is I want to be where I am now. I want to be right where I'm supposed to be. You know, and that's exactly where I am today. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. You know, there's no real missing piece of the jigsaw. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be. You know, and when the door opens, wherever God wants me, that's where I'll be.
Mate, you're a good speaker, you know.
Thank you.
Would you do any public speaking?
I mean, maybe, mate, perhaps. Not something I really thought about. Who knows? Never say never.
The reason I say it, I can definitely get you on events speaking, because I think, again...
How much?
Well, we could discuss
joking,
that. But
mate.
no, seriously, mate, because I think that your message and what you've done, again, it's going to help someone do the right thing. And I didn't want them to end up going to prison like you. I didn't want them to end up picking fights with people in the town. I didn't want any of that for them. But they can take all the bullshit that you've done and the shit that the trauma you may have caused over the years, and just pick the good bits. Because you're here to tell the tale now. You know what I mean? It could have went wrong for you. It could have went left for you loads of times. Yeah. But you're here. You're talking that story. You're still in the northeast. You're here. You're not. You know what I mean? You haven't just like sold out and pissed off somewhere. You're still here. You're about. You know. You're still on the tools, aren't you? You're still working.
Yeah, mate. I've gone back to work last week.
Fucking mental, that. At the height of the BKFC there, on the tools.
Scaffold, mate.
Fucking mental, that.
Yeah, you know something, mate, it's a long day. You know, sat about's a long day, and I'm not used to it. You know, when the last time I was sat about, I wasn't sat about. When I was off work for 6 weeks the last time, I was training 3 times a day, so you're busy. You're always doing your meal preps, you're out in the gym 3 times a day, you're doing X amount of miles, you've got to get them miles in per week, you've got to get them rounds in per week, you've got to spar this many lads that week. It's all got to be done, or you're just a shit house. You know what I mean? You're best off at work. So all that stuff was getting done, and I was busy, dead busy. I finished that fight, mate, I come back and I was like, what am I going to do now? You know what I mean? So, I just hemorrhage money. You know, when I'm sat about and I'm not working, money's nothing to me. It's just a tool to get what I want. So I'm in restaurants and that 3 times a day. I'll go uptown, have my breakfast in town, I'll come back, I'll have my dinner in town, I'll come back and have my tea in town. And that went on for the last 3 weeks, because that's what I do, because it's going to Aldi and cooking a meal just seems like a triathlon. You know.
Are you still getting people asking for photos and that?
Not so much at home, you know, but yeah, bits when I go everywhere and I get pulled and that, and like I say, it's nice. And who am I to say someone can't have a picture and that, you know?
Do you get bantered off the lads on the yard and that for losing that fight?
Not so much, mate. But listen, I can take the piss out of myself probably better than anyone else can.
I was
do
going
it.
to say, you've got to have a bit banter, haven't you?
Of course, mate. Listen, people can say whatever they want to us. I know, I get it. And listen, I love a bit crack with the lads and a bit frisk. And you know, something looking back, that's probably one of the things that, out of all that lifestyle that I've had and all that madness and all that stuff, you know, the thing that I probably miss the most is the frisk. The frisk with the lads, mate. See, when you get 15, 16, whatever lads together, and they're all very similar, and they're all up for Pagger, and they're all Raj, and they're all been flat out on the Mandy and the Shekis and the Wire for days, mate, you get some fucking banter going. It gets crazy, mate. You know what I mean? And that's probably the only thing I miss, that sort of thing. Even though a lot of it's bullshit, you know, that all for one for all type of feeling with all the boys and that. You know, and I do miss that a little bit sometimes.
I know that you're turning down a lot of podcasts and stuff, and I appreciate you coming on, mate. I just want to say thank you so much, mate. I wish you the very best for your future. I think you're a good lad, and I think you've got a good message. I think a lot of people can be inspired from your story, bro. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because I think you keep doing what you're doing, mate, the more people are going to benefit. You're nobody's counsellor, but all you can do is tell your story, bro. And I know that you turn a lot of podcasts down, so it's really appreciated. Have you enjoyed it?
I have enjoyed it, mate. It's felt free, and I've been relaxed, and I've been fairly comfortable saying whatever I've said. I can't even remember. You know, I hope everyone liked it. I tried my best.
Danny Christie, thank you so much, bro.
Not a problem, brother. God bless you, and thank you.
Mate. You too, bro. So you've made it to the end of this one. You're brave. But if you like this episode and you want to see more like this, click here and watch it.